Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome back to Walking the Talk. My name is Melissa, and as always, I'm super excited and thrilled to have a new fantastic guest here with me in my virtual studio. She's all the way around the world in Los Angeles. Her name is Anastasia Rivodeaux. She is managing partner and founder of GetFundedTools. Welcome, Anastasia.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have you because I think you're incredible. What you're doing is incredible. So I'm super happy that we can make this happen. And in order to get started, I figured we play a little rapid fire game, a rapid fire questions game. Forgot the most important part. I have a couple of random questions for you just to kind of warm up and get started. So yeah, if you're ready, we can get to it. All right. What is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
I say a blessing.
Nice. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I always answer I would gain a superpower to gain superpowers of other superheroes, which I feel like is cheating.
It's like you're absorbing whatever serves you the best in
Yes.
that moment.
Yes.
Nice. If you didn't have to sleep, what would you be doing with that extra time?
Creating more content.
More content. That's the answer to everything. More content. How would your friends describe you in 3 words?
Happy. Nice. And ambitious.
Nice. Those are great ones. If you had the chance to go to space, explore the ocean, or visit 50 different countries, which one would you choose and why?
Definitely countries. I don't know why, but I'm not drawn to space at all. Like my husband is obsessed with the idea. He was this close to becoming an astronaut, and
Really?
Yeah. And I have a lot of friends who want to go, but I don't know why. For me, Earth is fascinating, and I guess between choosing about the ocean and the countries, I'm terrified of depth. So ocean is like, I love to be by the ocean, so I would choose 50 countries that have ocean.
I feel, yeah.
And I'm just fascinated by cultures and people and, everything about humanity.
Your picture froze.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't get this. This is not good. This has never happened before. Let's keep going.
Okay.
I hope for the best. Now I hear myself double. Okay, this is making me really nervous.
That's all right.
Okay,
It's just
let's keep going.
side.
So, yeah. You're also a content creator. Maybe I should have mentioned that in the beginning as well, because you actually also produce content yourself for all kinds of things. Also, your famous TikTok videos. So you probably know the difficulties of technical issues yourself.
Absolutely.
But let's start with GetFundedTools. Would you maybe like to explain yourself what is GetFundedTools all about?
Sure. It was born from my own need. Before running GetFundedTools, I was CEO of startup, of several startups, and most of the times, in most of the startups that I've had, raising capital was literally the most challenging thing to do, and I couldn't figure out why it is so challenging. Why am I not getting it? And then when I finally raised capital for my company, I realized that I was going about it all wrong, that I was trying to talk about my product in the way that I want to talk about my product instead of turning it into the language that investors want to hear. And after raising capital and being in Silicon Valley, my friends started coming to me and asking for advice with their pitch decks, with their fundraising strategy, with how to reach out to investors, how to pitch their company. And I've been invited to be a mentor in 500 startups on topic of fundraising. And we just started Get Funded Tools out of that need. Because I realized that, there are so many passionate founders with great products, with traction out there, but they're just struggling to get capital. And the problem, sometimes the problem is in the deal, in the product, but often the problem is that they're just not communicating it correctly. So Get Funded Tools originally was started with the mission to help founders reach out to the investors with the right materials, with the right strategy, and communicate, negotiate their fundraising in order to close their rounds. And now we expanded, as I told you this morning, and we're working with VC funds as well,
Yes.
helping them raise capital from LPs, which happened randomly. Actually, one of our webinars, instead it was for startup founders, but it was a VC fund, and they reached out to us and they were like, "Can you help us with our fundraising operations?" We're like,
Wow. Sure.
"Yeah."
You don't say no to that.
And now it's more. And the moment we stumbled upon that, we realized that there is a lot of funds right now that are raising their second and third fund, and they do need help with running the backend, with creating the engine that helps them to raise capital continuously.
Wow. Wow. I think it's amazing what you're working on and what you built, because you have created more than 200 pitch decks, I think, and you raised more than 30 million US dollars, which is mind blowing to me. Like I've been working on a few things, and that's like miles, like I don't know how many thousands of miles away from what you're doing.
Well, we
And I
have
find that
have
so
probably around
impressive.
10 years difference too, so don't forget that.
True, true. But it's like what you're doing, I find that so incredible and impressive. And it's like kind of like where I would like to be maybe one day. And so this is really inspiring. And I would love to hear more about how you actually got there. Because in order to do fundraising for others, you probably need to show, or you need to convince them that it's actually worth, getting you for the job, that you're good at this. And I mean, obviously you are, but you didn't just wake up and had all of that. You worked really hard for it. So how did your startup journey start? How did you end up in this field in the first place?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that it's still a journey. Like, it's not I mean, obviously we reach certain point of success, but by all means, it's not that we know everything or I know everything. I'm still learning a lot myself, and there's so much more to learn and achieve. But I guess, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I've been in tech as I told you, for 10 years. And for the past 6 years, I've been building, failing, running, succeeding my own startups. And it's been very intense journey, and like for anybody who ever built a startup, they know that it's sleepless nights. It's a lot of sacrifice. You're sacrificing your comfort. You're sacrificing your sometimes even health. And for me, it's been the same. I first got into the startup world by chance. I was hired by a company that's called 908. It's in Ukraine. It's a first venture studio. And I was hired in a position of startup evangelist, which was back in the day. I was like, what? Startup evangelist? What is that thing? But it was amazing because my job was to communicate the idea of startups to the tech community and inspire people to go out and build instead of just, having their jobs. And that was very fulfilling because, what can be better than inspire somebody to create a company of their dreams? But after that, I decided that I have to try to create company of my dreams. And we have gathered the team and we built our first product. We launched the app and it had I think a few thousand users, so nothing crazy. It was way too early to market. Like, the idea was pretty cool, but it was early to market, so we had to shut it down in about 9 months, I think. Then we launched another
Oh,
that one was it was a social alarm clock, and they would wake you up with voices of different people. And that one kind of exploded. It had like 300K users per month, and like
wow.
all major press wrote about it. And I started. I was like, okay, we've got something here. That was
Yeah.
fun. And we were running that company for a couple years. At the same time, building another company that was called Social Seeds. It was a gaming company because we saw our friend was in gaming, and me and my business partner, my CTO at the time, we were like, let's try to scale it. Let's try to help him out and take it to social networks. So we brought his games to social networks, and that exploded. We got, we had, I think
Wow.
by now, I think it was like 5 or 10 million users, and it was generating a pretty good amount of money. It was internal monetization, so that was fun. And but I was never into gaming, so quickly I was like, okay, what's next? And from that, we've created. I was trying to create company in education and kids education, but that failed because there was no, like, the investors were just not interested. I was, talking about impact and how important kids education is, but the math just wouldn't work. And that was the first time. I would say I didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
it back then, but I realized later that that was my problem because I was so impact driven. And, it is a real problem that kids, like, we're working with the content that kids are watching, and we're filtering content and making it more empowering. So they don't watch, cartoons with violence or something that. So instead of watching cartoons with violence, we would recommend them cartoons that have education and positive message in it, and we would do it automatically. But that was the project where I realized that just having impact, just having positive impact, just solving a big problem is not enough. If you're building a business, there should be a business model behind it that makes sense. And if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be in a startup world, it means that it should not just make sense, it also should be very scalable, which is a tough puzzle
Mm-hmm.
to solve. So yeah, from there, just
Mm-hmm.
went startups and startups, moving to San Francisco, and a lot of stuff.
Wow. Wow. Was it scary for you at all to move to the United States for this? Or did you know, like, were you just certain that that was a good decision to, I don't know, develop and progress?
I came to San Francisco to try it out for a couple months. I never had a goal of immigrating or staying because I didn't know what I'm even talking about here. But I
Mm-hmm.
always felt that I'm not gonna live in Ukraine, like since I was a child. And when I
Mm-hmm.
came to San Francisco, it was the first place where I finally felt like home. I was like, these are
Mm-hmm.
my people. These crazy
Mm-hmm.
startup founders running around trying to solve world problems, these are the people with whom I feel like we are, made out of the same material.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that just happened. I realized that California has literally everything I've ever wanted. No winter.
Yes. Yes. I feel you.
Yes,
Number one reason to move abroad, no winter.
exactly. Yeah. So, people, weather, culture, business, capital, like everything was here. So it was almost obvious that, that I have to be here as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And how did you make that transition from the uh, capital seeker, like on the founder side, to your position right now, where you're the supporter,
Right.
so to say, where you're the one helping others? Like, how did that transition happen? I mean, there must have been someone, I don't know, approaching you for the first time. Hey, can you do this for me? Or how did that work?
Actually, this true story behind that. So I was building the company, and at some point, I decided to branch out. And I had a co-founder at the time. I decided to branch out this product into a different product because I got bored with the strategy that we had with that company, even though it was working. It was a great product. Like right now, my co-founder still runs it, and it's a great product, great company. But I was like, okay, there is this new thing, blockchain. That's where I see we should be pivoting this, and we did. And we raised capital, and we were running the company. But then we ran out of capital without raising more money because the blockchain hype went down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the biggest failure of my life, of my career and my life, as I was thinking about it. And it was tough. Like I was, I put everything on pause. I ran out of money. We were talking to, I had to let go of my team, and I had to explain to investors why this didn't work out. So it was a very tough moment for me as a founder. And because failure of that kind is always painful. And I had to reflect and understand, okay, what is my next thing? Do I even have energy for starting anything new? And at the time I didn't feel like starting a startup, at least for now. And I just took some time, and I restored and reflected on all my experience and what do I love the most. And I realized that I really love working with new companies all the time, because for me, grasping what company does, it literally takes me like 5 minutes. Even if they don't understand what they're building,
Wow.
I can translate what they're thinking they're building into a deliverable message. And I was like, that I think there's something there, because I do like something that what I loved about my job before becoming a startup founder. I was project manager and was product manager. So what I was doing, I was basically translating the words of engineers of development team to the customer, and I was translating customer demands to features that engineers can develop. So this translation process is very natural to me. And that's what happens between startups and investors. As a startup, you need to translate your business, your value, into the deal that looks interesting to the investors. And at the time, I think just one of my friends came to me and was like, Anna, can you help us with this, with the pitch deck? So I just started, doing consulting here and there, just like 1, 2, giving feedback on the deck. Then, 500 startups invited me in. And that's how it's all just, gradually started.
Wow. I love it. I mean, it's amazing how these things sometimes just fall into place. It's like not exactly something you've planned, but I don't know, sometimes it does just work out, that the things that you like the most, and then people are asking for it, and it just comes together so nicely.
I would say it always works out, first of all. And most of the times, not the way you expect. So yes, it's about, adapting mentality of trusting the process.
You're also very active on LinkedIn and YouTube, creating content, videos, webinars, hosting webinars. What is that all about? I know you're kind of famous for your investor TikToks, and I've seen it. That's actually how I came across your profile for the very first time. I have no idea how it happened, but I remember watching one of your videos, Investors Be Like, and then there was like money from you. I loved it. What is that all about? Why did you start doing that?
I think that we're living in the world where education should be fun, and edutainment is the best way to deliver a message to anybody. And startup industry, it's been fun. Like when it started, startups were fun. They were like, oh my God, not sleeping nights and building something cool for your garage. But now, it's very financial, and it's very like serious, and everybody's trying to be, like personal brand, and how cool we are, And I was just like, this is like, I wanted to make something fresh, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is just trying to prove, you know, and to like establish their coolness. I was like, you know, I already did that. I've already done that. Like, why I don't just have fun with that? Like, I've already been cool. You know, I've
Mm-hmm.
pitched around the world on so many stages in front of so many investors, but I want to have fun with it. And I want to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
educate entrepreneurs and show them their mistakes, but in a fun manner, you know, not patronizing, but
Mm-hmm.
showing how it is.
Yes.
And that's how idea came up with TikToks and, you know, with YouTube videos, also thanks to my husband, because he has, besides he's in VC and in tech as well, but he had a film background. He went to film school. And I was like, so I have these
Oh.
TikToks and I want to make like longer format videos that are more educational, that have more, you know, knowledge in it. And he's like, let's put it together. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we can totally do it. Let's just start every video from a sketch. I was like, okay. So, you know, that's how the whole format on YouTube came up. And it is hard to create, I'm going to be honest. Like every time, you know, coming up with a sketch with scenario, it's like a full-on production, but it's also super fun, you know. And I do think there is a lot of value in sharing everything, you know, out there for free. You know, I'm always like, my goal is to provide as much value as I can to as many people as I can. So, you know, for me, that's part of just sharing with the community.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I think it's amazing, and your content is super interesting and super fun to watch. I absolutely
Thank you,
love it.
Melissa. Thank you so
Um,
much.
you you're also hosting webinars, so that also fits very nicely to your goal of sharing as much information as possible. Who are these webinars targeted to? Like, who are you trying to reach with that?
Sure. We have two types of webinars. One is targeting startup founders. And that one we have for startup founders, we actually have two webinars. One is about creating the pitch deck. We give them step-by-step instruction, how to go about it, how to make it attractive for the investor, what to put in, what not to put in, what are the common mistakes and all that. And second one for startup founders is for setting up fundraising operations. I would say it's almost a new service on the market that not that many founders know about. But the reality is that most of the companies that are raising capital successfully, they usually have very clear and organized process behind their fundraising. They have a funnel, they have CRM, they have, you know, investor lead generation, and that's what we do. We're bringing it from the way funds raise money and investment banks raise money. So it's something that was before not accessible for early stage startups. We are, you know, digesting it for them and making it implementable even at their stage.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the second type of webinars. And the third webinar, this one is for now, as we're doing for venture funds and investment banks. If they're raising their second or third round, they also usually starting to have very extensive database of investors that they need to build relationship with in order to convert them into their investors. So we help them to set up this back end of building this relationship and expanding their network of investors.
Super interesting. Also, how this is developing one step at a time. I find that fascinating to follow. And what is your experience so far? Like, are startups aware that they need help? Or is it most of the time that they're not exactly aware that they could use a little bit of help?
You know, it's very interesting. It's a very good question, Melissa. I'm going to tell you. Um, so we talk to probably a good 100 to 200 startups a month. And among the startups, and I've noticed the dynamic. Usually, the founder that is successful in their business, you know, they have traction, their team is growing, they maybe raised capital before, now they're going after their second round. They're extremely humble. They're always looking for help. They're always looking for somebody, for a professional that can bring their expertise and make their company better, make their lives better. On the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, there are founders that, haven't even built MVP yet, like minimum viable product,
Mm-hmm.
or they've built something but they are not getting any traction, and they're not getting any traction with investors either, and they're like, no, we don't need pitch deck, we already have a pitch deck. I'm like, okay, do you want to send me the deck? do you
Oh.
want do you want
Hmm.
to look at the back? And they're like, no, I'm gonna send it, but it's already great. And I look in the deck and I'm like, it's like red flag on a red flag on a
Hmm.
red flag, and I know this deck is not going to get funded. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I spend time and I would write them a feedback. I would say, like, here is the problem over there, the problem over there, problem over there. They're like, yeah, sure, thanks. And it's just not our always not a
Hmm.
match. So we're not chasing anybody. We have enough work to do. And we do have a big pipeline, but I guess what breaks my heart a little bit is that we genuinely want to help, and a lot of founders are just so resistant.
Mm-hmm.
They think they know better, but I do remember myself being this way, so I
Mm-hmm.
understand them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's difficult. It's a very thin line, and I guess if somebody is not open to receiving support, there is also not really a whole lot you can do about it.
Right.
I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, like
Uh,
you have to have a desire to be helped. Then you will be
mm-hmm.
helped. If you don't have a desire, then there is no way for help to come in.
Yes, yes, that's true. Um, what are you going to do next? Do you already have any plans or so? Where you want to take Get Funded Tools in the future? Like some sort of vision or dream for it?
There are several potential strategies that I'm looking in. One of them is building the academy, digital academy, because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs who come in, and our services at the very early stage companies, idea stage or MVP stage, and they just can't afford our prices, and even though they're not really high. But we do still want to help them. And usually, what they need,
Mm-hmm.
their first step is getting more traction. And that's what actually my husband's company does. They help companies to expand, they help companies to create sales teams to grow their revenue. But he also works with later stage companies. But the knowledge and the tools they use
Mm-hmm.
can be applied to early stage as well. And then I have another, and then they need to figure out sales, they need to figure out marketing. I have another friend of mine who's fascinating marketer, successful CMO of AI startup, and she's also a mentor. So, what we want to do as a next step is to, package their knowledge, package what I'm teaching on webinars and what we're giving in one-on-one consulting sessions with companies into the digital academy, where early stage founders can get access to it as well. So that's the low hanging fruit. But the big vision, of course,
Mm-hmm.
I want to focus on impact as much as I can and support impact companies and impact capital. And one of the potential ways we might develop is building investment platform specifically for impact tech startups and impact capital investors to connect them through the product. I'm still staying away from developing my own soft again, but I know right now, by now, that it's all about timing. And when the timing will be right, we're gonna execute it fast.
This is so exciting. I think this is going to be great.
Thank you.
Um, when you look at early stage startups, from your experience, is it more or less the same they need in order to get funded, or is there huge differences depending on what they're working on?
Surprisingly, it's very similar things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the industry is different. The stage of the company could be different. But
Mm-hmm.
if to summarize it and make it simple, all of them need good way to communicate their value, their deal, and then they need a process to reach out to the investors, because fundraising is the numbers game, and you do need to have that
Mm-hmm.
continuous flow of conversations with investors.
I'm actually talking about this kind of topic in one of my classes at the moment,
Ah,
reaching out to investors, and we're talking about the number one factor being also, connections, having someone who can introduce you and who can, maybe recommend you as, hey, I've talked with them, they're cool, what they're working on is great, you should talk to them. That's really helpful. You have much more experience than I have, but I've noticed that that's really the case. What is your experience on that?
well,
How much does that
introductions
come in
definitely
handy?
help, and this is one of the ways to warm up relationship with the specific investor. And one of the mistakes that startups are doing is, they would reach out to somebody and they're like, "Here's our deal. Can you introduce us to somebody?" And you're like, "Why?" No. And not because I don't want to. First of all, like, I don't know you. That's step number one. Second,
Mm-hmm.
you are making me think, who should I introduce you to? The better way to go, and we all know that right now,
Mm-hmm.
the time is number one valuable resource. And if you're asking somebody for help, you want to make sure you're saving their time. So if, for example, a company has an investor that they want to reach out to, and this investor is part of my network, and they would reach out to me, they would be like, "Anna, there's this investor that seems like and the reason why he will be interested or she will be interested in our deal is this and this and that, because he invests in this sector. Will be interesting for them. Can you make an intro?" And then it changes the game, because now it's going to make me look good if I introduce this deal to this investor, because I know he's looking for this type of deals, and I don't need to spend my brain power
Mm-hmm.
on thinking who to introduce this deal to. And I also see that the
Mm-hmm.
company did the homework, and they researched who they're looking for. they
Mm-hmm.
they did research why this person will be interested, so it also adds credibility to the founder. So this is definitely much better way to ask for
Mm-hmm.
introductions. But on the subject of introductions, um, before, when it was less, it was more market of the founder and less market of the investor, so there was a lot of cool deals. um, it was easier. It was definitely easier to just ask for introductions and kind of wait. But right now, because there are so many deals, and I would say there's not enough good deals, and there's a lot of capital, so it's a market of investor right now. If you will be just sitting and waiting for introductions, you might never get funded. So you want to do both. You want to reach out directly and ask for introductions. Sometimes direct, like if you do direct outreach and you do it smart, you're gonna get it faster than you would be waiting for the intro.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I really didn't know that. So that's really interesting. Because I actually thought that introductions would be more uh, effective, I guess.
I
But
mean, there are different kinds of introductions. If that's like, if somebody, let's say, if my husband works with the customer and he's like, "Anna, you should look at this company," I'd be like, "Of course." But if somebody on
mm-hmm.
my LinkedIn network will send me something, I also will look into it as well. But for the investors, you have to understand, it's like relationship are all about layers of connections and warmth. If somebody, like, let's take Andreessen Horowitz, one of the top Silicon Valley funds.
Yes.
um, if partner of Andreessen Horowitz will introduce um, to another partner the deal, not because they don't want to invest in it and they just want to throw this deal to another investor, but because it's outside of focus of this specific partner, outside of their experience, then of course this partner will look into it, because they have very they're on the same
Yeah.
level of circles, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if somebody let's say like I have several Andreessen Horowitz partners in my network because, I send them deals at some point. We had intro calls at some point. So, they know me, but we're not on the same, level. So if I send them the deal, they might look at it, but they also have like 100 deals coming from other sources. So of course, it adds a little bit value to the deal to be introduced. But if you as a founder just have a good deal and it matches the investment interest of the investor, like don't overcomplicate it. Just send it,
Nice. I think that's great advice. Not overthinking it is usually a good idea. Otherwise, we have analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I love that word. I don't know. Awesome. We are almost at the end of our session already, which is insane. It went by so fast today. Do you still have a piece of advice or a message, something that you would like to pass on to other startups or founders that are hopefully watching right now?
Sure. I think one of the things that I wasn't understanding as a younger founder and I was struggling with is that timing is everything. That's one concept. And if something is not coming through for you now, it doesn't mean it's not going to come through later in your life. And it's going to come through in ways that right now you can't even imagine. So what is worth doing is keep having that picture in your head of where are you trying to get, and then just doing one step at a time. The tiniest little step that you can make today in order to get to your goal, to your dream, just do that step. Don't get overwhelmed by all the complexity of all the things. Small steps. That's, they say 1,000-step journey starts with the first step. So you gotta just keep moving. That's all.
Love it. I think that's a great piece of advice. Thank you so very much for taking the time for me today and for being here. This was amazing, and I thought it was super insightful, and I hope that other people feel the same.
Thank you so much, Melissa. You're such a wonderful host. You definitely have a talent for this.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. If somebody wants to reach out to you or learn more about GetFundedTools, how can they do that?
Sure, GetFundedTools.com, our website. You also can book a call with us on the website as well. Also, my LinkedIn, my direct messages are open. It's Anastasia Rivodeaux. And I'll be happy to help you guys.
I will make sure to put all the important links in the wonderful description box. And that's it for today. Thank you again for being here. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did. And I see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.